"You can leave," my daughter said to me at her own wedding. The entire room stared as I stood up, my body shaking with shame. But then the groom shot up from his chair. He grabbed the microphone, and his eyes were filled with a cold rage I'd never seen before. He looked at my daughter, his brand new wife, and his voice boomed through the speakers. "Before your mother leaves, there are a few things everyone here should know." He knew her secret, a secret she thought was buried forever, and he was about to expose it to 200 guests. What did he know that was about to turn this fairy tale wedding into a public execution? 3 hours earlier, I was in my room, putting the finishing touches on my outfit for the wedding. My wine-colored dress was perfectly pressed, every wrinkle smoothed out with the kind of care you take when you're desperate to be flawless. Even at 67, I still worried about making a good impression on Sophia. The rose perfume on my wrists mingled with the smell of the coffee I'd let go cold on my nightstand. I'd barely managed to choke down a piece of toast for breakfast. My nerves were shot. This was my daughter's big day, and all I wanted was to be perfect for her. As I clipped on the pearl earrings that belonged to my mom, my mind drifted back to all the nights I'd stayed up with a sick little Sophia, bringing her fevers down with cool cloths. I remembered reading her bedtime stories until she finally fell asleep, and the endless double shifts I pulled just so she could go to the best university in the state. "Everything will change today," I whispered to my reflection, practicing a smile I didn't feel. "Today, my daughter will finally see me. She'll value me." Just then, my phone rang, yanking me out of my thoughts. It was Jessica, my younger sister. "Olivia, how are you feeling? Ready for the big day?" she asked. "More than ready," I said, my eyes welling up with tears. "I have a feeling that today, everything will be different between Sophia and me." Jessica was quiet for a beat. She knew our history, how rocky things had been for the last few years. Ever since Sophia moved in with Derek, the visits had dried up, the calls became colder, and every time we saw each other, it was tense and awkward. "Just take care of yourself, sis," she finally said. "Don't get your hopes up too high." But I wouldn't listen. Today was the day. Today, my daughter would finally give me the place I deserved in her life after years of being pushed away. I grabbed the gift for the newlyweds, a beautiful Pottery Barn dinnerware set that I'd been paying off in installments for a whole year. Every plate was an apology I wanted to make. Every cup was a chance to start over. I'd even sold my own wedding ring, the last thing I had from my late husband Robert, just to pay it off in full. The taxi pulled up right at 2 p.m. The whole ride to the church, I couldn't stop smiling, picturing the moment Sophia would see me. I imagined a huge hug, whispered words of forgiveness, and all the old wounds finally healing. The church was stunning, filled with white and pale pink flowers, exactly the fairy tale wedding Sophia had always dreamed of. I got there early to make sure I had a good seat, right up front where she could see me. But as I went to sit in the front pew, the wedding planner, a guy with a clipboard and a serious face, stopped me. "Excuse me, ma'am, these seats are reserved for immediate family," he said. I smiled proudly. "I am the mother of the bride." He scanned his list, his brow furrowed. "I'm sorry, but my chart says you're to be seated in the 5th row. My smile vanished. The 5th row, like I was just some random guest, not the woman who gave her entire life for the girl about to walk down that aisle. I did as I was told, squeezed between strangers, and watched as the front rows filled up with Derek's friends and Sophia's co-workers, people who'd known her for 5 minutes compared to my lifetime. It feels like a gut punch, doesn't it? To be treated like you're invisible by the one person who should see you more clearly than anyone. Before I tell you how much worse it got, hit that subscribe button. You don't want to be the only one who doesn't know how this train wreck ends. And if you're not subscribing, go ahead and tell us in the comments why you're choosing to miss out on justice. When the music started and I saw Sophia walking towards the altar, looking like an angel in her white dress, my heart swelled anyway. This has to be a mistake, I told myself. At the reception, things will be different. The ceremony was beautiful. Derek seemed like a good man. The way he looked at Sophia put me at ease. At least my daughter found someone who truly loved her. That's all that matters, right? After they said "I do," I tried to get to them, but the crowd was a mob scene. I managed to give Sophia a quick kiss on the cheek. "You look beautiful, sweetie," I whispered. She gave me a tight, barely there smile before turning to someone else. The reception was at an elegant hotel ballroom overlooking a garden. I walked in, gift in hand, and found my table number, table 8, in the back, right next to the swinging kitchen doors. I could barely even see the head table from here. I was seated with the other obligation guests, the ones who were invited out of politeness, and then stuck in the corner. "Are you a relative of the bride?" an elderly woman next to me asked. "I'm her mother," I said, trying to keep my voice from cracking. The woman's eyes widened in shock, clearly wondering why the mother of the bride was in Siberia. I was wondering the same damn thing. From my seat, I watched Sophia laugh with her friends and hug Derek's mother with a warmth she hadn't shown me in years. Each hug was another little stab in my heart. When dinner was served, the main tables got their food first, of course. By the time our table was served, my chicken was lukewarm and disappointing. The whole time I waited, I prayed she'd come over, say hi, ask me how I was doing. But she never did. I was invisible on the most important day of her life. Then it was time for the toasts. My heart hammered in my chest. Maybe now, I thought, maybe in her speech she'll say something. Thank me for all the sacrifices. Derek went first. He gave a beautiful speech, thanking his parents and friends. Then Sophia stood up, glowing, her cheeks flushed from the champagne. "I want to thank all the special people here today," she began, "to the friends who have become my siblings, to the colleagues who have become my family." My breath caught in my throat. Here it comes. She's going to mention me. "I've learned that family isn't always about blood," she continued, and I felt something inside me shatter. The real family are the people who choose to be with you, who support you, who make you grow. My chosen family are the ones who make me happy. The words were like stones, each one hitting me harder than the last. Every smile she gave to the crowd was a slap in the face. Then, for the first time all night, her eyes found mine, and in her gaze, I didn't see love or gratitude, I saw pure contempt. "And I also want to say," she said, her voice dripping with ice as she stared right at me, "that there are people who don't deserve to be in this special moment, people who only bring negativity into our lives." The room went dead silent. Every head turned to me. My face was on fire with shame. "Mom," she said, and the word I had longed to hear sounded like a death sentence. "You can leave." The silence was deafening. 200 pairs of eyes on me. My world was collapsing. Have you ever felt that kind of public humiliation? If you want to see if I get my justice, subscribe right now so you never have to feel this alone. If you're okay with leaving someone in this much pain, I guess just scroll on, but tell me why in the comments. My hands were shaking as I placed my napkin on the table. My beautiful dress felt like a clown costume. I stood up slowly, trying to hold on to the last shred of my dignity. But then something happened. Derek stood up. His face, which had been beaming with joy moments before, was now a mask of cold, hard anger. "What are you doing?" Sophia hissed, trying to pull him back down. He shook her off and strode to the microphone. "Grace," he said, his voice booming through the silent room, "before your mother leaves, I think there are a few things everyone here should know." Sophia's face went white as a sheet. "Derek, no, don't." "Don't what? Tell the truth?" His voice echoed. "Because it turns out I know the truth about your mother." I was frozen by my table, unable to move. "When we started dating," Derek began, his eyes locked on Sophia, "she always spoke ill of her mother. She told me her mom was a bitter, controlling woman who criticized everything she did. She said her mother never supported her, that she was a toxic burden she had to get away from." Every word was a hammer blow to my heart. This is what she'd been saying about me for years. "And I believed her," Derek said, his voice thick with regret. "But a month ago, I decided to do some digging on my own. I went to talk to Olivia's sister, Jessica." My jaw dropped. Jessica had talked to him? "And what I discovered," Derek said, his voice rising, "left me speechless. It turns out Olivia isn't some bitter monster. She's a woman who was widowed when her daughter was just 12 years old. A woman who worked 18-hour days to raise that daughter all by herself." He paced the stage, the microphone cord trailing behind him. "Olivia sold her house, her jewelry, everything she had, to pay for Sophia's private university. She worked as a cleaner, a waitress, whatever it took, so her daughter would never want for anything." Tears were streaming down my face now. He knew everything. And when Sophia graduated, instead of thanking her, she moved to another city and left her mother all alone. In the 3 years we've been together, you know how many times Sophia has visited her mum? 3 times. And every time Olivia called her, Sophia would hit ignore. Derek's voice cracked with emotion. But the craziest part? Jessica told me that Olivia even sold her own wedding ring to pay for Sophia's tuition. She told me how Olivia rejected 3 marriage proposals because those men wouldn't accept that her daughter always came first. He was spilling all the tea. Every single person was seeing her for who she truly was. If you believe in karma and getting what you deserve, subscribe and join the family that stands for what's right. For those of you who think she deserved another chance right then and there, let the rest of us know in the comments why you'd side with the villain. Derek walked right up to Sophia, who was sobbing uncontrollably now. What hurt me the most, Sophia, was when I proposed and you told me your mother didn't deserve to be here, that she'd only cause trouble. I insisted on inviting her, hoping you two could reconcile, and you stuck her at the back table like she was garbage. He turned and looked at me, his eyes full of a deep, profound sadness. Mrs. Olivia, I cannot marry a woman who treats her own mother like this. I can't start a family with someone who has this much contempt for the person who gave her everything. Sophia let out a gut-wrenching scream. No, Derek, please, we can fix this. But he had already made up his mind. He took off his wedding ring, placed it on the head table, and looked at the shocked guests. Ladies and gentlemen, he announced, I'm sorry, but this wedding is cancelled. The ballroom exploded into chaos. Sophia crumpled to the floor, a broken doll in a white dress. Mom, she wailed at me. Mom, please tell him to stay. But I was already walking toward the exit, my head held high for the first time in years. I sat on a bench in the garden, the cool night air a welcome relief on my burning face. My sister Jessica picked me up, and we drove to her house in a comfortable silence. That night, she told me that Derek had sought her out because he sensed something was off, that a woman as terrible as Sophia described couldn't have raised such a successful daughter. For the next 3 days, my phone blew up with calls and texts from Sophia. First came the desperate apologies, then the guilt trips. Mom, please answer, one text read. I'm heartbroken. It's all my fault, but it's also your fault for not teaching me to value what I had. I'm thinking of doing something drastic if you don't help me. Jessica read it over my shoulder. That's pure emotional manipulation, Olivia. Don't fall for it. She was right. And when Sophia showed up at Jessica's door a few days later looking like a total wreck, I stood my ground. Mom, please, she begged. Derek left me. I lost my job. I'm losing my apartment. I need you. You need me, or you need me to solve your problems like I always have? I asked, my voice firmer than I'd ever heard it. For years, you've trained me to put your needs before mine, but not anymore. For the first time, I was in control. If you're ready to take control of your own life and stop letting people walk all over you, then subscribe and become part of this journey. If you think I was being too harsh, the comment section is right there. Let's hear it. If you want a relationship with me, I told her, it's going to be on my terms. You're going to go to therapy. You're going to figure out why you treat people who love you so badly. And you're going to have to earn my forgiveness. You're asking for a rescue, not forgiveness, and I'm done rescuing you. She left, defeated, and for the first time in my life, I didn't run after her. 2 weeks later, Derek called and asked to meet me for coffee. He told me he'd been thinking about my story, and he wanted to partner with me on a project, a community centre for older women who had been made to feel invisible by their families, just like me. I don't need your money, he said, sliding the blueprints across the table. I need your soul, your experience, your strength. I want you to help me build a place where women like you can find their purpose again. I looked at the plans, a beautiful building full of light and hope, and for the first time in forever, I saw a future for myself that didn't revolve around my daughter's approval. When do we start? I asked, tears of hope filling my eyes. 6 months later, I stood in front of the mirror in my new apartment, getting ready for the grand opening of the New Dawn Women's Centre. I was wearing an emerald green dress I bought with my first paycheck as the centre's coordinator. My eyes sparkled with a purpose I thought I'd lost forever. The opening was a huge success. When it was my turn to speak, I looked out at the crowd of supportive faces. 6 months ago, I began, my own daughter kicked me out of her wedding. That night I thought my life was over. But I was wrong. I discovered my value doesn't depend on one person loving me. That woman who kicked me out of that wedding did me the biggest favor of my life. She forced me to find my own strength, my own purpose, my own chosen family. The applause was deafening. After the ceremony, I saw Sophia at the back of the crowd. She looked different, humbled. She came up to me later, telling me she'd been in therapy and that she was proud of me. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, she said, her voice trembling, but I now understand everything you sacrificed for me. I looked at the young woman before me, a shadow of the arrogant bride she had been. I'm glad you're working on yourself, Sophia, I told her, but I no longer need your love to be happy. I've found my own path. 2 years passed. The New Dawn Women's Centre became a national success. I wrote a best-selling book. My life was full, happy, and mine. One afternoon, Sophia visited me at the centre. She was serene, peaceful. Mom, she said, I've been in therapy for 2 years. I've learned that my cruelty came from my own insecurity. I know I lost the privilege of being your priority, but I was hoping maybe we could try to get to know each other again, not as mother and daughter, but as 2 adult women. She told me Derek had gotten married to a wonderful woman and she was genuinely happy for him. She wasn't asking for a handout or a quick fix. She was asking for a chance with no strings attached. I think we could try, I said finally, but on one condition. This relationship will only be a part of my life. It won't be the center of my universe anymore. A look of pure relief washed over her face. I understand, she said. It gives me peace to know you are a complete woman, that you can be happy with or without me. The next day she called, just to ask how my day was. She didn't ask for a thing, she just wanted to know me. And for the first time, I felt like maybe, just maybe, we could build something new and beautiful on the ashes of our past. My most beautiful story was just beginning. My story was just beginning, and yours can too. Subscribe to hear more stories about finding your strength when you thought all was lost. If you made it this far and still haven't subscribed, seriously, what's holding you back? Drop a comment below and let me know why you're choosing to stay on the outside.